Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Covering both sides of the big issues with the analysis you trust on News Radio 1040 WHO.
That social media has got a negative effect on self-esteem, but how about on your finances? There's a new term being coined called money dysmorphia, and a lot of folks are blaming social media for that. On the Davison Family Dentistry Newsmaker line, a financial strategist and the founder of your dedicated fiduciary, here is Vance Barse. Vance, welcome to Iowa Radio. Good morning.
Good morning to you, and thanks for having me on the show.
So what does this term refer to, Vance, this money dysmorphia? It sounds like maybe a name for something we've known has been around for quite a while. What do you think?
Couldn't agree more. This is a term that is emblematic of the modern day concept of keeping up with the Joneses. And all the data is out there. Anyone listening can do a quick Google search. But when we look at the implementation of social media going back a good 10 to 15 years ago, and the impact that it has had, particularly on who are today millennials, Gen Z, and younger, there's no doubt that it has been negative, and it has manifested financially because what people see on Instagram and on Facebook is what the particular user wants to portray is his or her life. And, of course, it's always the best life. It's not like I'm having a horrible day and I'm broke. It's always, here I am at the Ritz-Carlton, which I might have walked to from my cheap Airbnb. Perception is reality, and it results and manifests in this money dysmorphia.
And so what's so fascinating about that, Vance, is you're spending money that you don't have. What's that mindset? What do you find that mindset to be like? Is it that people feel like magically the money someday will appeal around the corner, or they just don't want to think about it at all?
I think it's clinical denial because and this comes up, by the way, in conversations with families we serve, typically in the what we call G2 or G3, so the second and respectively third generations, wherein they go, I was told that if I get a college degree and I take out a student loan, that I too could live the American dream, which is inclusive of home ownership, having a car, et cetera, et cetera. It's the typical white picket fence picture that we have in our mind. But in reality, the student debt is so crippling. An avocado toast at, it used to be $8. Now I think it's 15. I don't know. It's been a while since I've had it. Things are so expensive that we have an affordability crisis in this country. And so resultingly, the aforementioned cohorts are tapping lines of credit, getting credit cards, and even risking going into debt to live the lifestyle that they believe they are expected to live. Or those who are lucky have the BOMD, which I call the bank of mom and dad, and that's what's foot rolling this thing.
Financial strategist Vance Barse, News Radio 1040 WHO. So, Vance, it seems like every time that there's a financial news story on WHO radio, it says, inflation's high, cost of living's high, but consumer spending continues to be strong. I assume that's debt. And obviously there's a lot of young people piling on the debt at this particular point. This is long-term economic disaster, isn't it?
Well, it certainly can be, and you bring up a very good point. So you're on air with the true Fed head. I'm one of the lucky ones who gets to go to Camp Kotok, which is an invitation-only economic retreat that is a couple weeks before the Jackson Hole Fed meeting. And this is one of the many, many things that we talk about and debate. So with respect to inflation, what I think most people don't understand, or at least they don't understand yet, is that the economy now is structurally different than the economy we had for 13 years. People have become conditioned to expect zero interest rates, what's called quantitative easing, which is what the Fed did, the so-called money printing, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's what drove the economy for, my goodness, a solid generation of investors. And in my view, those days are over because the economy post-COVID is structurally different. It doesn't mean that it's way, way worse. It just means that certain metrics that I won't get into because people are on their drive to work and I don't want them to fall asleep at the wheel. Certain metrics are different, and I would expect that we would see inflation, core and what we call super core in that 3.5-ish range, give or take. And the reality is consumer spending is driving a lot of that. And to circle back to your point, if we look at discretionary good sales, they have plateaued, meaning it's been a straight line. Yet, concurrent with that, we have seen an asymmetric rise in the tapping of debt, which tells us conclusively that people are accessing debt to maintain lifestyle. And ultimately, that is one of the underpinnings of a recession.
There you have it, financial strategist and founder of your dedicated fiduciary. That is Vance Barse, bringing some financial reality to the show this morning. Vance, thanks very much for your expertise. Thanks for the conversation.